Our next guest, Rahul Mawawalla, has been a leader and an executive with a number of technology companies, such as Yahoo, Nokia, and the General Electric Company, and is currently the CEO of Mawson Infrastructure Group, a NASDAQ-listed digital infrastructure company. Good morning, Rahul.
Good morning, Max.
Rahul, Bloomberg recently wrote an article about how companies in your space, such as Marathon, Riot, Core Scientific, and Applied Digital, are pursuing different paths towards growth, with some increasing a focus on developing facilities capable of powering artificial intelligence. From your perspective, can all sites be transformed to power artificial intelligence applications, or is there a different way to think about it?
Yeah, it's a great question, Max. And I will say, first off, David Pan from Bloomberg, who wrote the article, is a terrific writer. And for those of you, who haven't read his reading, he really discovered the industry really insightfully. I think the point that David was trying to make in his article on Bloomberg was, if you look at our peers in the industry, whether they are Marathon or Riot, or as you said, Core Scientific and Applied Digital, and of course, we know a number of these CEOs. I think very highly of them. I think we collectively as an industry are looking for ways to best utilize the assets and the digital infrastructure that we have to optimize shareholder returns moving forward. But I think every company, as you'd expect, is finding its own path. And I think for those companies that are looking to take the sites that they currently have or are building and reconfigure or deploy them for artificial intelligence, I think there are a number of criteria you've got to look at. And, we've spent a lot of time looking at this. As you know, we recently announced our expansion into AI and high performance computing as well. And what our analysis and our work showed was that you've got to look at a number of different criteria. I think one, you've got to make sure that you have abundant power, and that not only do you have abundant power, but you have robust power that can scale moving forward. So as an example, one of our sites in Midland, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 minutes from Pittsburgh, there was a 100 megawatt site that was currently operating. We recently expanded that from 100 to 120 megawatts and continue to see line of sight to continue to build on that site on a moving forward basis. So I think that's one criteria that you've got to fulfill. I think the other criteria is you've got to have the right sort of fiber connectivity, particularly for AI and HPC. And so you need redundant fiber, you need low latency, you need proximity to the right hub. And again, our site, for example, in Midland that I was talking about, really fit very well within that criteria. I think the third thing, which I think more people need to think about more carefully, particularly if you want to serve the AI and HPC market, is that the source of your energy needs to be 100% carbon free. And one of the things that we're very proud of at Mawson is all of our sites operate at 100% carbon free. And we are increasingly also using nuclear. So if you look at our site that I was talking about a few moments ago, we're right by the Ohio River, and right across the river, and you can see this from our site, is the Beaver Valley nuclear plant. And so I think if you want to serve marquee AI customers, you've got to have 100% carbon zero energy. And I think the fourth criteria is you want your site to be in proximity to a tech hub. So one of the things that works really well for us is over 90% of our currently operating capacity is within 30 minutes of Pittsburgh International. And Pittsburgh, as you know, with Carnegie Mellon University, a lot of research that's being done around AI, high performance computing, autonomous vehicles, robotics has become a real hub for AI. And that really benefits us. And so we put a great deal of thought around thinking around whether our sites would make sense for artificial intelligence and high performance computing, and using the criteria that that I just spoke about in discussions with customers and other industry ecosystem players. We believe it's a really good fit. And I think every company, to your question, is looking at all of their sites and saying which of our sites meet those criteria. And if they do, it behooves them to look at additional opportunities such as AI and HPC, which will only maximize shareholder value.
You operate in the PJM market, which is North America's largest wholesale power market. How key is power market selection for AI infrastructure, and what advantages does the PJM market provide?
That's a great question, Max. And you're right, we do operate in the PJM market. Our sites are either in Western Pennsylvania or in Eastern Ohio. And we recently expanded our site in both Midland, Pennsylvania, which, as you know, is 30 minutes from Pittsburgh, to 120 megawatts. And we also recently announced our expansion into Ohio, where we're building an additional 24 megawatts, where we just completed our first phase of construction. And that's in addition to the other sites that we have operating in the region. Now, we initially weren't in the PJM market. So we have historically operated in a number of other markets around the country. But I think through our operating in a number of other markets, we came to the realization that for what we're looking to do, which is power the next generation of digital infrastructure applications, whether it's artificial intelligence or high performance computing or digital assets, the PJM market is particularly well suited. It is, as you rightly pointed out, the largest wholesale market in North America. It is also a deregulated market. And if you look at the history of the market, it's where historically, over the last several decades, we had our base of industrial manufacturing. And so you think of steel plants and paper mills, a lot of that was in the Rust Belt, which is what's covered by the PJM market. And so you've got this abundance of power infrastructure that was built historically to power these manufacturing and industrial facilities that now we're repurposing, and in many ways creating a renaissance in this area around digital infrastructure. And so we think it really is well suited to what we're looking to do. And we're actually pleased that other companies such as Amazon and Microsoft have also now publicly announced their plans to build in the PJM market, which I think just signifies that it's a really attractive market if you are operating in the digital infrastructure industry.
That makes a lot of sense and is a very insightful way to think about it. Now, as you know, BlackRock, Microsoft, Global Infrastructure Partners, and MGX recently announced what could be a $100 billion fund to invest in artificial intelligence infrastructure. Now, that seems huge. A $100 billion inaugural fund? What's your perspective?
You know, when you first hear of it and you talk about an inaugural fund of $100 billion, you're right. It is a very large number. I will say, though, based on discussions that we've had with a number of those players, it is just the beginning, Max. And I'll explain why. If you think about all of the compute capacity that was built over the last 2 decades, so you think of data centers across the US, data centers across the world, we have invested over $1 trillion in building out compute infrastructure. But if you think about what we're doing on a moving forward basis around artificial intelligence, high performance computing, digital assets, and how fundamentally they all work, we have to, in many ways, reconfigure this compute infrastructure that we built over the last 2 decades. And while we're doing that, we also have to continue to grow it to meet the demand that we will see on a moving forward basis. And I anticipate the demand is going to be in excess of 20% a year. So you think of $1 trillion, over $1 trillion of compute capacity that's already in the market. You think about that growing, let's say, 20% a year for the next few years. That's $2 trillion of compute infrastructure that needs to be repurposed in many ways for the applications of the future. And so you're right, $100 billion is a lot of money. But in the context of what we're trying to accomplish as a technology industry, I believe it's just the beginning. And I think the value here is across the entire spectrum. From everything around the GPUs to the software layer, to the hardware layer, to then the foundational layer, which is where Mawson operates, which is providing the digital infrastructure where you actually host and operate and manage and optimize all of these compute machines. The entire spectrum is going to see a surge in demand. And I think we're going to see, I think this fund is just the start. In all of the discussions that we are having, we expect there to be a greater inflow of capital into the industry. And I think if we think about where we want this technology to be moving forward, I think we need that level of investment, and I think it's going to be very exciting.
We're seeing significant capital flowing into AI infrastructure from various sources: public markets, private equity, and now sovereign wealth funds. How do you see this affecting the development of AI infrastructure over the next few years?
Yeah, it's an insightful question, Max. And I think what it speaks to is just the pace of change and innovation. If you think about just GPUs, for example, the performance of GPUs over just the last 8 years have increased over 1,000-fold. And if you just think about, the level of flops, for example, that we're able to generate with our GPU infrastructure, we're just seeing a manifold increase in performance. And so I think the way the industry is thinking about it, and certainly we at Mawson are, is we believe that this is just the first innings of the game. If you think about where we are today, whether it's ChatGPT or it's Copilot or it's, a number of initiatives that, Google and Meta with Llama have sort of introduced, this is just the first phase. In the coming years, we're going to go from a prompt to there being what, we believe will be called an AI agent, which is where you can give a discrete task to an AI agent and they can complete that with minimal human interference or human feedback. And, you then take that moving forward, you're going to see multimodal AI. So you're going to see AI not just on your desktop or your mobile, but you're going to see, humanoids and robotics that are going to use AI to do a number of the tasks that we as humans do. And so it's going to be an exciting several years moving forward. But all of this, fundamentally, at the end of the day, needs compute capacity. Because you need all of this data to get processed. You need all of these LLMs to get trained and then retrained. I mean, even in the span of the last 2 years, we've gone from, ChatGPT now at version 4.0, right? And, they're already working in the next version. And so the demand for compute capacity is going to increase. I believe that the demand is going to outpace supply for the next several years. Companies such as ours, which provides digital infrastructure and compute capacity, I think are going to benefit from the demand moving forward. And I think you're going to see capital providers, whether they are from private markets or private equity or sovereign wealth funds or public markets, whereas, a publicly traded company, are all going to say, how can I participate in this ecosystem? NVIDIA obviously seen a lot of success, but I think a lot of folks are saying, what is the broader play around this? How can I play not just with GPUs, but how can I think about AI applications? How can I think about software? How can I think about foundational technologies such as digital infrastructure? And so we're going to see an increase in flow of capital. I think we are just at the start, but I think this capital is essential to building out what I believe is going to be the next big wave of innovation moving forward. Right? If you sort of look back, the first big wave was the internet, followed by mobile, then cloud. But I think AI is going to be more transformative than anything we've ever seen. And I think in many ways, it is going to advance humankind in a way that we really haven't even envisioned yet. And so all of this capital, I think, will come in to support what is going to be this incredible advancement of the next several years.
Fascinating. I don't think since the space race has something been so exciting to look forward.
I fully agree. I think, when we were growing up, we would look at things like NASA and really get inspired by that. Mm-hmm. And I think the next generation is going to have even more exciting stuff to look forward to.
Rahul, I appreciate your time and look forward to seeing what comes next for you.
Thanks so much, Max.
Thank you.
Great seeing you.